Who am I harming? Rich literally destroyed me for a decade. He got what was coming to him. My detractors are literally still doing it daily. They're just getting their justice.
One of my favorite parts about the recent changes in DSP's attitude, also known as the Return of the King, is that as of late, he can't help but mention the detractors every opportunity that he gets. You might be saying, but Atlas, I thought that was already the case. It seemed like he was already constantly talking about his haters and trolls all of the time. If this were a month ago, I would be inclined to believe you. But that's only because I just didn't know how much he would force this as a topic of discussion. Detractors are constantly getting at least one segment or mention every single day, and some of his audience are not really for these new developments.
And we received the first tip of the night already here. I just got started. $2 tip from Sarah. Now listen to this, all right? Because we are going to address this, because here's the deal. I've got to be honest, I'm not a fan of dragging down others and felting. I understand why you're doing it. It's good for business, but I hope when the hype dies down, you go back to being the old DSP that focuses on making positive content that doesn't harm anyone else. First of all, I haven't stopped making any content. I'm making exactly the same content in the same amounts. In fact, it's just extra content. I'm still making the gameplay. I'm still doing the podcast. There's just extra content added onto it. So your statement about me not making content is actually false.
The funniest part about this is at no point though did Sarah actually mention making less content. She did say that she hopes the focus goes from felting the haters back to the gameplay, a common sentiment shared among many of his dents, believe it or not. But again, at no point was there any mention of less content. I don't know if he's really that stupid, if his reading comprehension is that abysmal, or if this was just a way for him to forcibly talk about how he's making more content in the form of clips that nobody cares about. But regardless of what the answer is, it doesn't matter, because he's blatantly misrepresented what this person has said simply so that he could lambaste them publicly. And I want to remind everybody that moving on positively and focusing on the actual gameplay and the content coming up as opposed to the haters is something that DSP very much prided himself in for years. You might recall some of the segments that we received over the past few years where he very openly said that he was not a drama channel, he had no intentions of being a drama channel, and actually wanted to focus on the gameplay because that's why people came through. Apparently that's no longer the case though.
Number two, your statement saying that basically you are sad that I'm dragging others down. I'm literally not dragging anyone down that hasn't done it to me for a decade. First it was Rich, now it's my detractors. I'm not going after anyone. I have no reason to go after anyone. But now these people who have made money on my back for a decade are going to get their fucking share of misery. They deserve it. And I am going to get back. Every ounce that they milked out of me is coming back to me now, period.
So you are attacking others, you are bringing other people down. Why deny the accusation just to immediately confirm everything that they just said was in fact right? It's just a waste of breath, and this person very clearly stated that they want the focus to be on the video game, so I don't think it matters how you try and justify it to this person. They aren't interested in that style of content, and I don't think that they're going to be convinced. And I would have to imagine any longtime DSP supporter would feel this way if they truly believed any of the drivel that he's been spewing at them for the last 6 years or so. But now that he's got a little bit of buzz again, he changes his entire mission statement to ensure that he's felt maxing. Hopefully his real fans see the guy for what he truly is now, so that after the Kino arc is over and all of the Kino enjoyers go back to the casino, his audience is in shambles and he's right back where he belongs. Because the way that he switched up recently is completely insane. They say if you want to see a person's true character, you give them a little bit of power, and look what DSP's done as of late. That's who he really is.
But you're not going to see me go out and attack others for no reason. You're just going to see me be myself, all right? If you have a problem with that, I'm sorry. Really, I am. Because I don't think that anything I'm doing is offensive or wrong, right? Am I? Can anyone say that? Phil really went out and he's just stabbing everyone, attacking everyone constantly. No. You know me. I'm going to stay here in my lane and do my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, particularly in this case, all right? I'm just going to say something. I'm going to reiterate it from what I said this morning. What's been happening is the people who are pocket detractors, pocket watchers of me. I said this on the podcast earlier today. People who are pocket watchers of me, who literally sat around watching for the wrong reasons, are now upset. because now they're realizing it's not fun to be on my streams anymore because there's nothing to make fun of. I'm literally winning every stream, correct? We already had it with Don Fanucci, right? We already had it. Well, guess what? I know a particular few people who have been sitting around pretending to be fans that are not, okay? And I am not going to put up with that shit. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you were a pocket watcher of mine, and now all of a sudden you're upset because now I'm doing well, people like my content, are seeing me for who I really am rather than a lie. You can't just sit around and pocket watch and make stabs at me and say fucked up stuff. Guess what? You leave right now, or I can remove you. There's your two choices. You can leave of your own accord, or I will remove you myself, and I will laugh at it when it happens.
If he knows who these people are, why wouldn't he just ban them before they say anything of the sort? I mean, the answer is obviously because he wants to make a spectacle of it, because he wants to make it an ordeal so that he can flex his muscles on stream as if he's somebody. But he seems to have forgotten how to use the term pocket watching or pocket watchers in this case, because the way that he just used it, it sounds like he's talking about LARPers or people hanging out in his chat sneak dissing and secretly preying on his downfall. He did mention money though, so maybe he was actually talking about pocket watchers, but if that's the case, the way that he communicated it was not clear, and he really should work on that, being that half of his job is communication. But he's clearly winning, you guys. Look at all of the money that comes in. That really just proves for the nth time that money is the only thing that he cares about, and every other metric be damned. You can shove your view counts and the chat in a direction where the sun don't shine as far as he's concerned, because nobody takes those as payment, and buying more unnecessary shit is what DSP is living for right now.
Because I've had enough of it. You sitting in here, I was being nice to people. Oh, they're not breaking the rules. Doesn't matter if you're not breaking the rules now, because now I already knew who you were all this time. You see, the only people who have issue right now with what's going on, with me getting more views, getting engagement, making money, are detractors. That's it. That's literally the only people that have issue. My longtime fans like it. My new fans like it. No one has issue with this because they've seen me be the whipping boy of the internet for a decade. And now they're like, yes, this is great. This is called people getting their comeuppance. This is called the underdog coming back. This almost like the second, the second return, the second coming of Phil, hitting YouTube again, getting popularity, right? Right?
A quick scroll through his videos, as I'm doing on screen right now, can show pretty quickly not only are his views about the same they've been for a while now, but that the only time he really breaks over 1K is when he's talking about detractors or his next collab. So I really don't know what he's talking about when it comes to hitting YouTube and being popular again, unless he really is talking solely about the amount of money that he's been getting. And he wants desperately to paint himself as the underdog, to paint himself as the hero of this story, but he wants to call himself the king? Last I checked, rarely is the king ever seen as the underdog. In fact, more often than not, the king is used as the villain, the character you're supposed to root against because he's loud, rude, obnoxious, entitled, detached from reality, and treating other people poorly. Definitely sounds like the guy if you ask me. Besides, who would ever root for an underdog that has the same traits as DSP? He's the type of character where if he were actually the hero, I'd be praying that the absolute evil wins out just to quell his arrogance.
So I got to ask the question, Sarah, where do your intentions really lie? Because literally what you just said in this $2 tip is wrong. No, I have not. What do you see? Go back to the old DSP that focuses on making good, positive content that doesn't harm anyone else. Who am I harming? Rich literally destroyed me for a decade. He got what was coming to him. My detractors are literally still doing it daily. They're just getting their justice. They're just desserts. That's different than if I was someone who literally went out and attacked other people to get myself over. These are not innocent people. These are people who deserve this treatment for how they've treated me. I just sat here and took it for 10 years, and now I'm just not going to take it anymore. Right? Right?
Is that the second double right in this short clip? Good lord, dude, chill out. He's frantic at this point. My god. And I'm not trying to conflate what DSP is doing to murder. They're not really similar at all. What I am trying to say, though, is that if you listen to what DSP just said and replace his actions with murder, his justification sounds completely insane. These people are getting what they deserve, Sarah, and if you can't see that, well, maybe you don't belong in the future that we're building. Where does your allegiance lie? If that isn't cult speak, then I don't know know what is. He really does sound like a lunatic. He outright is interrogating where Sarah's intentions are. Like, dude, what are you talking about? Had he put on the Pigler hat and a black and white filter, I'd be convinced that this is a speech from that German man who ran the country during World War II.
So honestly, Sarah, I don't know where your intentions are lying with this tip, and I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, or you could be a Don Finucci. You really could be. So I don't know what to tell you. If you're not happy that finally I get to defend myself and I get justice, maybe you were watching for the wrong reasons. Okay? Okay, cool.
Please let me know if I'm wrong, but isn't this the Sarah that is a long-term dent head and legitimate chatter in DSP's audience? Regardless, the way he's talking about them is insane. I don't know if it's ever justifiable to talk to a member of your stream audience like this, especially given that this is DSP Space Gaming, the man who talks incessantly about how he's a content curator and he only wants to make content for his small fan base every day. Yet here he is ousting one of his own because they don't like the drastic shift in attitude and content. As if that wasn't to be expected when making a drastic shift in your attitude and content.
But in the meantime, I'm not going to not count your tip just because I don't agree with what you said. That would be kind of unfair of me. I wouldn't be very kingly behavior if I did that, would it?
Oh, thank God he added the tip to the goal. Isn't the king so gracious? I couldn't roll my eyes far enough back in my head for that line, I promise. Hopefully Sarah is no longer with us, and by that I mean in DSP's chat, because just a few days later we got a completely unhinged segment about Discord. Yes, the messaging app. Because apparently people who dislike Phil aren't allowed to use it, at least according to him. And then, just a few days after that, there was an entire pre-stream dedicated to Keemstar and Duty, so big ups to Duty for getting his own segment, of course. He's calling it Playing with Duty, a completely mature and original title that only the guy could come up with, obviously. And due to my inability to focus long enough to make any full-length videos, this is going to be a shorter one. Hopefully you don't mind and even enjoy it more, potentially, maybe? But we aren't going to leave without at least one comment from the 60 Skulls, so shout out to them. Dead Exo says, I find it nuts that DSP has just gone completely off the wall with seeking revenge, or justice as he calls it. He retained nothing from his upbringing, especially his Roman Catholic morals. And you're absolutely right, because all of the morals that he feigned before this point were just a means for him to cope. A way for him to pretend that he was where he wanted to be and that he was in control the entire time despite the position that he put himself in constantly. But I think again that the most important takeaway is to notice how quickly he was willing to switch up as soon as he got a little bit of positivity behind him. Because it's not too often that that does happen to him, but when it does, this is how he behaves inevitably. It's cyclical in that way, and I really am curious as to why DSP thinks that even if this is legitimate positivity on his behalf, that this is going to be any different from the way that it always goes, and that he is going to mess everything up and miss out on all of the opportunities that he had.
Maybe you were watching for the wrong reason.